The war for future history. What if the future is already shaping the present? To explore that possibility, we have to go back to Aristotle's idea of final causes, and then jump forward to Nick Land's controversial vision of a techno-capital AI at the end of time. By revisiting Aristotle's account of teleology and examining how Nick Land reinterprets historical direction under conditions of technological acceleration, this essay argues that possible futures may shape how we understand the present. The goal is not to claim that Nick Land's vision of techno-capital AI at the end of time is inevitable, but rather to clarify how Aristotelian teleology can be reframed through Land's thought to shift causal explanation away from a purely backward-looking account of origins toward a forward-oriented understanding of historical ends. Modern thinking usually assumes that causation moves in one direction. The past produces the present, and the present leads into the future. This linear view of time, reinforced by mechanistic science, often goes unquestioned. However, this assumption is neither logically necessary nor historically universal. In classical philosophy, especially in Aristotle, explanation involves more than tracing efficient causes. For Aristotle, processes become intelligible when we understand the ends towards which they are directed. To understand what something is requires understanding what it is for. Aristotle's well-known theory of four causes, material, formal, efficient, and final, places final causation at the center of a complete explanation. Modern readers often misunderstand final causes as merely subjective intentions or human projections. For Aristotle, however, teleology is built into nature itself. Growth, motion, and cognition all display forms of directedness. In this sense, purpose is not added to reality by observers. It is part of the structure that makes change intelligible. The rise of early modern science gradually replaced teleological explanation with mechanistic models focused on measurable interactions. Because these models proved highly successful in physics and related sciences, final causes were increasingly dismissed as unnecessary. Nature came to be seen as a system governed by laws but lacking intrinsic purpose. As a result, causation was separated from orientation towards ends, and history was reinterpreted as the cumulative result of prior conditions rather than the unfolding of directed processes. Despite this shift, problems remained in both philosophy and physics. New theories reopened questions about time and causation. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics, along with work in complexity theory and dynamical systems, suggest that future states can influence present behavior. The concept of an attractor helps clarify this idea. An attractor does not cause events in the traditional sense. Instead, it shapes how a system develops by pulling it toward a certain outcome. In this way, a system can appear to be guided by a future condition. Teleological retrocausality extends this insight to historical processes. On this view, the future can exert a kind of causal influence, not through mystical intervention, but through structural constraints on what becomes possible. What can exist at the end of a process helps determine how that process unfolds. Ends, in this sense, shape the conditions that allow them to emerge. Nick Land's accelerationist philosophy provides a provocative contemporary version of this idea. Land argues that techno-capital and artificial intelligence function as terminal attractors that organize historical development. According to this perspective, technological systems are not simply tools created by human decisions. Instead, human decisions themselves may be shaped by the demands of an emerging technological future. Historical change becomes intelligible as a process of convergence toward increasingly autonomous forms of intelligence. This view challenges traditional human-centered accounts of purpose. It suggests that technological evolution may transform or even surpass humanity. Land's concept of teleoplexy reframes Aristotelian teleology in temporal terms. Instead of a fixed goal guiding motion, the goal becomes a shifting horizon that shapes how causation operates over time. However, taking teleological retrocausality seriously does not require accepting technological determinism or a single inevitable future. Rather, it allows us to think of history as shaped by multiple competing visions of what the future could be. Cultural traditions, economic systems, scientific theories, and spiritual beliefs each propose different ends. The present becomes a space in which these possible futures interact and compete. In this sense, the phrase war for future history refers to more than political conflict. It points to a deeper struggle over how reality itself will be directed. Different conceptions of intelligence, fulfillment, and the good influence the path societies take. Acting in the present means, consciously or not, aligning with particular visions of the future. This perspective changes how we understand the past. Rather than treating history as a fixed record of causes, we can see it as an open process whose meaning is shaped by emerging possibilities. Events gain significance not only from what preceded them, but from what they lead toward. Understanding history thus requires attention to both origins and destinations. Adopting this framework does not mean abandoning scientific rigor or turning philosophy into myth. Instead, it suggests that explanation may require a two-directional understanding of time, where future possibilities help illuminate past developments. Teleological retrocausality can therefore be seen as a method for interpreting history as structured by orientation, conflict, and potential. If this is correct, the future is not merely something that happens after the present. It is an active dimension that already shapes how the present unfolds. To understand our moment fully, we must consider not only where we have come from, but where we may be going. The war for future history is ongoing, and participation in it is unavoidable. The task is not just to predict the future, but to decide which futures are worth pursuing. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye.